Hey guys, it's Mike again. Welcome back to the channel. You know the deal. If you want to subscribe, hit a like, share it, whatever. I appreciate it. Don't get anything out of it other than seeing if people like what I post up once in a while. Today, weird one. I think everybody knows what a pipe roller is. You know, big stands, you put a pipe on it and you can roll the pipe on the wheels. Well, once in a while, I need something like that to cut a piece of pipe, or when I'm welding or using a plasma cutter or a grinder or even painting stuff. It's nice to have something like that, so I'm not trying to pick it up and turn it and in a vise. And a lot of times, if it's say a 1.5, 2-inch pipe or even bigger, you know, your cutter can't go all the way through it. So then you're winding up having to cut part of it, move your hand, and you don't get that really nice smooth cut. Now, I have two words I use. I have cutting and chopping. Chopping is you don't care. You just, something's too long and you want to cut it. Maybe it's a pipe and you're just cutting the end off and it's going in the ground or something. You don't really care. That's cool. But there's sometimes, like if you're doing indoor work or something like that, and you want to cut it, you want a nice smooth cut so that it can rest flush on a piece of wood, on the floor, or whatever. Or maybe you've got two pipes and you're trying to cut them because you're going to be welding them together or something like that. There's a lot of reasons where you might want a straight cut or a pretty decent cut. And that can be really hard. I mean, here's a pipe, I just used a regular angle grinder, but you're cutting and then you have to stop and you have to move your hand around, and you're never going to get that. Your hand is just not straight enough. Now, if it's really thin, you can just cut right through it, not a problem. But there's times that it's thicker and the blade, you only have so much blade. I mean, the blade might be this big, but you got the bushings and everything in the center. So you only have about that much blade to go through. And if you can't go all the way through it, then you have to somehow go around it. And our hands, like I said, they're just not good. Even when I was plasma cutting the end off of one. Okay, again, if I'm just chopping, I don't care. But sometimes I want to cut something smooth. So I looked into some of these pipe rollers, and they can be used for other things, not just pipe. I mean, a round piece of wood, maybe you're doing some woodworking or something like that, and you can roll it on there. But the average price I found for these things are about $90 to $100. And you need two, obviously, because the pipe is long. I didn't want to spend $200 on something like that, especially if I'm not going to use it all the time. But now that I've built this, because I needed it, it was like, oh my God, this thing is coming in handy for everything. All I did was use caster wheels. I got 4 caster wheels. Now, I like to use magnets. I just bolt on 2 magnets on the corners. And I do this because I want it to be portable. I want it to be adjustable. Yeah, if I had a big stand and everything, that'd be great. But again, I can put this on my welding table and I can spread them out. I'm going to show you all this. And I'm going to even do some dry demonstrations. Dry meaning I'm not going to turn on the power tools where everything, you have to deal with the noise and everything, but you'll be able to see. It'll be very accurate. But I want to be able to, I can put these on, like I said, on my welding table, my plasma table, whatever. And because they're magnetic, I can spread them out, different lengths. I can get a piece of sheet metal. Maybe I can't do the work I'm wanting to do right here in the shop. Maybe it's out in the yard, maybe it's out on the ranch, whatever. I can get myself a piece of sheet metal at 4 foot, whatever, and I can attach these on there. And if I have, with 2 of them hooked up, and you'll see there's probably about an inch gap in between it, that can hold the pipe up to about this big. But let's say you had a monster pipe, you could just put these a little further apart, they're gonna hold the weight. Now, these aren't designed for like 2 ton or 1 ton, 1,000 pound big pipe that, you know, you're doing sewer work or oil rigs or something like that or whatever. This is for the 99% of the kind of DIY jobs that we do. And so, like I said, all I did was take 2 of these rare earth magnets. You know, you can get, I think a dozen of them cost me $10. The wheels, they were like $2.50 each. I think I got 4 of them for $10. And you don't want the ones that swivel. You want, you know, stationary, and, you know, just, you could put 4 magnets on here, I guess, if you wanted to, but there's no need to, because it's just going to sit like this. And then there'll be another one, if it's like this, there'd be another one behind it or in front of it for the pipe to rest in. And I'll show you how this works. So, like I said, there's a lot of times where you want something, or maybe if it's just for hands-free, you know, pipes or anything round like this, it's hard because you try to brace it in place or something like that. It wants to roll, it wants to turn. Maybe you want a nice way to just hold this in place so that you can work on something. And you'd be surprised, you can also put metal tubing in there. The tubing obviously doesn't roll. You'd have to pick it up and turn it, but it also makes a great stand. So here, let me show you 4 of these set up, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, so you see what I did? I got 2 of them there, 2 of them there. And now I can put a pipe in here, and look at that. Nice little rolling. And if I spread these out here, I could put like an 8-foot, 10-foot pipe in there. And like I said, if it's a really monster big pipe, you can just make this a wider gap. So you can put that in there. And having those 4 in there, and there is something called pipe creep that you want to understand. You want to get these straight so that the pipe isn't gradually shifting as it's rolling. Now, mind you, you're only going to roll 1 rotation if you're cutting it, welding it, plasma cutting, painting, whatever you're going to use it for. You only need 1 rotation. But what I did is I used a center line on here, and I just made a mark on there. Forget that it's all marked over there. But what you can see is if you adjust it right, that when it rolls all the way around, it's staying on the line. And if it doesn't, if it's shifting, all you have to do is, it means that one side is tilted differently than the other side. So you just quick adjustments. You know, they're magnetic. Like I said, I can just pull these off, you know, and put them back on. Just get them next to each other again. And it's really easy to roll. Don't mind that, just a piece of wood. So, give me a second, I'm gonna do some dry demonstrations on different tools, different things you can do with it. Okay, first thing we'll try is like a angle grinder. Again, remember safety and all that. Make sure you have eye protection, whatever you need. Also, when you look at that, remember what way this thing is rotating. That's very important. If I was to put this up here, like this on a pipe, it's gonna be shooting all the sparks and the metal into my face. So we wanna make it like this, so it's down on it. Here's what I was telling you though about you can't cut all the way through it. See? So, because you can't cut all the way through the pipe, you have to wind up taking your hand off, and if you're cutting or whatever. But with this, you have a nice little brace here. And let's see if I can put this. Yeah, that might work. But so I have it rotating that way. But you can hold your hand really steady in one place. It's when you have to move that things don't get good. So if you need that real good straight cut, you can fire this up, and as it's cutting, gradually turn it. Not a big deal, right? Works fine, and it's going to stay right on that line, whatever line you have that you want to cut. Like I said, it makes life so much easier. And the same thing applies if you're welding. It's easy to hold your hand in one position. It's when you have to move. Well, guess what? When we weld, right, we go back and forth, or we do our circle E's or up and down motions. But assuming we're doing back and forth, you know, we're welding and we're turning. Of course, you have your gloves on, you know, you have all your proper gear on. But now you can get yourself a really nice, easy weld on that. And you don't have to, you're not trying to move your hand around and trying to do things on a pipe. You can just sit there. You got your hand braced, pull the trigger, you're at the right distance, you're at the proper, everything's perfect, pull the trigger, starts welding. And then you start moving. See, I wanted to do this dry because if I did it turned on the sparks, you're not going to see it turning, but it is turning. You can see the lines. That's why I do it this way. And the same thing happens with a plasma cutter. You have your ring and it just sits there and you're trying to cut. You know, you pull the trigger, it sparks, and then once it blows through, you can nice and hold it and just shoot, go through, and you'll get yourself a nice clean line like you would on the cutting wheel. But see, not everybody has metal grinders or, you know, like a bandsaw or a metal cutting wheels that they can go through all this with. So for us, this comes out really good. So hold on a second. And like I said, this is also good, even if it's just using it as a stand, because assuming this was like for welding, you know, you can just clamp on your ground on the one end, you know, and it's still going to be able to rotate. Again, you're only going to rotate one revolution. So it's not going to twist up and tangle up a bunch of wires. So whether it's welding or a plasma cutter or anything like that, you know, you can still do that. It's also handy, let's say, as a stand, maybe you're painting something and, you know, you can roll it and you don't have to worry about trying to, you know, touch it with your fingers or anything like that. You know, you can roll it like this. You don't have to try to hang it from a string somewhere. If you put it in a vise, you know, you get so far and then you're getting either underneath it or something, or you have to take it out of the vise and move it. A nice pipe roller. And again, it doesn't have to be for just metal. I just grabbed a broomstick, but, you know, you could have a round pole. Maybe you're making like a leg table or something. And you want a nice clean cut, or maybe it's just for painting it or staining it or something. You'd be surprised. Once I've done this, I'm finding all sorts of uses for a roller system. You know, they call it a pipe roller, but, you know, like I said, it can be done on wood. And if it gets too small, let's say you want like even rebar, you just take this out, move it, you know, and then it'll still sit in there and it'll still roll. But now you made it even tighter. Or like I said, if you need it really big, it could be way out here. So like I said, there are 1,000,001 uses for something like this. And you don't have to spend $200 for it. Wanted to show you also like PVC. I mean, how many times? And again, even at their normal depth. I mean, that's a big piece of PVC, but even if you're using a handsaw, it gives you a way to hold it. If it was flat on the ground or flat on the table, you know, you can't get all the way to the end. Where now you got a gap under it, you can cut all the way through it. So, like I said, 1,000,001 uses. So anyway, I can't really give you like a total list of what to use it for. I mean, there are a million and one uses. You're going to find more uses than I will. Uh, like I said, if nothing else, just as a hand, something to hold it so you don't have to crush it in a vise or something to try to hold it while you're cutting. You put it in a vise and maybe it's copper and you don't want to pinch down too tight, but if you start pushing on it with the saw, all of a sudden, it starts bending or tilting or whatever. Here it can just rest on there and you can hold it and you can cut right through it. Like I said, copper tubing, even if it's something then you're going to just use a handsaw. I mean, it's a good stand. It makes for a good stand for anything round pipe or whatever. Like even tubing, you can just rest tubing in there. And if you want to do welding or plasma cutting or something like that, you still have the space on the end, where you've sanded off to put your earth clamp for welding or plasma cutting or something like that. I mean, this way it's round. It's not a flat sheet piece of metal that you just clamp to your bench or something, or clamp in a vise and then just cut down with your angled grinder or cutoff wheel or something like that. There are a million and one uses for this. But again, anything halfway decent that I found, they have the nice 3, 4, 5 foot stands with the wheels on them and all that. They're close to $100 each, and you're going to need 2 of them, obviously, to keep the pipe up. But this, my goodness, right on my own workbench, I can put a 6, 8 foot piece of pipe or wood or angle iron or tubing or anything. If I needed something bigger, I can, put it on the floor. If I got a large enough piece of sheet metal, like I said, how far apart they are isn't how far apart you can cut or do with whatever. Like I said, that was only 2 feet apart at the max, and I could put an 8 foot pipe on that, and it wouldn't be a problem. If I had a 4 foot piece of sheet metal and I put that on there, I could probably put a 10, 12, 14, 16 foot pipe, tubing, whatever on there. And like I said, painting, welding, plasma cutting, oh my God, cutting rebar, cutting copper tubing. Imagine, put copper tubing, you've taken copper tubing cutters, and you have to spin them around. They're good, they work and everything. Imagine though you put that in there and you hold it and you don't turn it. You just hold the cutter, you turn to copper. I mean, everything becomes easier. And that's what this was all about. It's just finding an easier way to do it. So I hope that helps. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, I needed a pipe roller about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I didn't want to spend $200. But I don't know what made me think of this, but and I'm sure I didn't invent it. Other people came up with it, I'm sure, before me. But I had a bunch of wheels sitting around, and they can be any kind of wheel you want. I have these kind of wheels. The only reason I didn't do this is because they swivel. And if they swivel, then your pipe isn't going to stay straight. But I started thinking, and it's like, hey, we can pull this off. $10 for some wheels, and they could be any size you want. I just happened to grab these because they were cheap on Amazon, 4 of them for $10. And then the magnets, I always keep these magnets around. I have tons of these, all over the place. They're rare earth magnets. They stick to anything. They got a hole in there so I can put a bolt or a screw or something through them. But I think a 12-pack of those was like $9. So I hope this helps. Again, if you can, subscribe. When you do this kind of stuff, be safe. Put a like on this, pass it around, and guys, have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.